Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 27 is already at Beta 2, and iOS 26.5.2 released to the public this week, along with iOS 26.6 Beta 3. And Apple is getting things right early on with iOS 27, but iOS 26 is still not that great, and for many is still a major disappointment. Apple continues focusing on bug fixes, stability, and improvements in iOS 27 that many say feel it's next gen. So that's great to see. In this video, we'll talk about the latest Apple news, new features, and the overall experience, and not just my experience, but your experience based off the YouTube community poll on the post page, where at the time of this video, there's over 18,000 votes and 235 comments. I've gone over all the comments to determine what the update is like for most of us, so be sure to stick around toward the end of the video where I'll read some of your comments as well. Apple has purchased the iPhone app interface app called Play. The app had previously won an Apple Design Award in 2025, and the app allows you to use interactive prototypes with Swift UI frameworks. Apple will likely use some of the app to integrate into Xcode, as the app is no longer available in the App Store. So that's another app, again, that they'll probably use soon. Apple's next earnings calls have been announced to be on July 30th. You can see on their website where it says, join us here on July 30th, 2026 at 2 p.m. Pacific Time, 5 p.m. Eastern, so you can listen to the conference call live. So I'll link that in the description if you want to check it out on July 30th. The latest iPhone Photography Award winners were announced this past Thursday. You'll see it here on their website where it says the 2026 winners are here. This is the 19th year they've been doing this, and it's definitely worth checking out. You can see the winning photograph along with many others on their website. I'll link it in the description below so you can check it out. Now, it seems Apple's very helpful Hide My Email feature has a vulnerability that can expose the user's email address. If we take a look at the article, 404 Media actually says that there's some issues with this, where they reported it to Apple over a year ago and it still has not been fixed. They are not explaining how to actually take advantage of the exploit to give Apple a little bit more time to fix it, but just want them to be aware so they can resolve it. So hopefully they can resolve this issue soon and, again, keep all of the Hide My Emails secret at this point. Apple CarKeys are now coming soon to Volkswagen, according to new server-side code found by Mac Rumors. This is a super helpful option for different Volkswagen cars. Hopefully it will be rolling out to many, but at this point we don't know specifically which vehicle it will be in. But having it as your car key, basically just keeping it on your iPhone, I never carry my keys with me, and it works seamlessly. Just walk up to your car, it unlocks, you get in, and start your car and go. So instead of having a third-party app to do that, it's just built into your iPhone and makes it much more convenient. So I'm glad to see more and more manufacturers add this. Now, when it comes to new features this week, as I mentioned in the What's New video, Apple has done away with the indexing banner and replaced it with one that says Optimizing Search and Siri. A viewer, Harsh Prasad, shared what it looks like on X. So instead of having it actually at the top of your display, you can see it on the left here, what it actually looks like. So it's a nice feature to have to let you know what's going on. But again, it was pretty annoying not giving any sort of status or anything else before. So maybe we'll see some additional changes with this with Beta 3. Now in Safari, if you add a website to your home screen as an app, when you open the app, it looks a little bit different. So if we go here, we'll go back to some websites that I have open. We'll go back to Apple's website. You can see this is the main website here. And if we go to the one I added to the home screen, we have a banner at the top that clearly indicates that it's a little bit different. So this is something that you see only on ones that you've added to your home screen in iOS 27. If we go into Notes, there's a change there. iOS 26.6 is on the left, iOS 27 is on the right, and you can see we have all new icons for the folders at the top, with Quick Notes, Math Notes, Call Recordings, and Shared, and you'll see they look a little bit different with all the icons. So maybe we'll see additional icon changes with Beta 3 or the public release. When you go to AirDrop in iOS 27 Beta 2, it's much faster. You'll see right here it sends right away, and the transfer happens faster as well. This is something we see with connected devices, connected directly to USB-C as well, where it makes it much faster to transfer different files and folders. So that's something we're seeing that's better in Beta 2. Even though it was better in Beta 1, it seems like it's improved even more. Code found in iOS 27 Beta 2 also seems to match what we've been hearing about upcoming AirPods Ultra. The code referenced was for a product code name of B790, which can relay images from cameras on either side of the head, similar to the rumored AirPods Ultra with cameras in them. However, a new post from a leaker, Kosutami, has said that Apple has suspended development of the AirPods with cameras. So maybe this code will disappear with Beta 3, or maybe they'll just continue it, we don't know yet, but at this point, Apple's always getting ready for their next products. Apple is also already said to be testing iOS 27.4, which is some ways off, so Apple typically has multiple versions in testing while they're working on them and preparing for future releases after the public release, so it looks like they're getting the refinement down and making things much better. When it comes to app updates this week, Google launched Gemini Spark. You'll see it's on macOS, and it allows for connected apps and more. So this is something that can help you automate some local files and things like that if you want to allow it, and it's available now. Also, I mentioned earlier this week that there was a big Creator Studio update that's now live. It's for Final Cut Pro and many others, and allows you to do things with AI, as well as has refinements to the interface and much more. It's great with masking things if maybe you want to change a skin tone but not the rest of the video, and maybe change the overall brightness or color temperature. You can now do that seamlessly without having to use a third-party plugin. So there's some great updates here, along with all the other Creator Studio apps as well. Also this week, Apple released Safari Technology Preview. There's a new update here. You can see the version here with 2.4.7. So you'll see here it says Safari Technology Preview for macOS 27 beta and for macOS 26. So no longer available for older versions, but it's available for the last two. Also, we had iOS 26.5.2, like I mentioned already, and we do expect some updates this coming week. We could see iOS 27 Beta 3, and of course we're getting ready to see iOS 27's public beta release. However, I went back and looked back over iOS 26, so Apple released iOS 26 Beta 3 on July 7th, Beta 4 was on July 22nd, Beta 4 re-release was on July 24th, along with the public beta. So we could see the same sort of thing this year, where we'll have maybe Beta 3 on the 6th, Beta 4 maybe on the 20th, a re-release maybe around the 24th, and a public release that day with the public beta. Of course, iOS 27's public release won't be until September, where we typically have the iPhone launch and have that launch just before. So that's what we expect for upcoming releases. Again, this coming week, we could also see iOS 26.6 Beta 4 or RC as well. When it comes to the iPhone 18 Pro this year, iPhone 18 Pro is expected later this year, and according to a recent leak, it seems to be getting a significant battery upgrade according to Macworld. The iPhone 18 Pro Max with the eSIM model will be 5,425 milliamp hours with the battery. If you get the physical SIM, which apparently is going to still be available in some countries, that will have 5,235. So both of them should be over 5,000 milliamp hours, and we get almost 400 to 500 milliamp hour boost on the iPhone 18 Pro Max, depending on which version you're coming from and to. So I think that's great. Maybe we'll have even better battery life. The chip should hopefully be more efficient, and maybe we'll easily get through a couple days at this point. We'll just have to wait and see if iOS 27 turns out to be that efficient when it's released to the public. Now, when it comes to the overall experience, let's first talk about AirPods Pro 3. I've been using them regularly this past couple of weeks with iOS 27 Beta 2 and had no real issues with it whatsoever. I am running the beta on the AirPods as well as the iPhone, and they seem to be doing well. However, when I'm using it with macOS 26, the latest release there, I seem to have quite a few issues with it dropping out. So that's definitely an issue for me running the beta with that. However, when I'm using it with macOS 27 Golden Gate, I don't have a single problem. So there's definitely some improvements there with the latest updates. When it comes to iOS 27 Beta 2, it still seems to be pretty good. It's very smooth for the most part. Occasionally it does need a reboot to sort of put things back in place, but I don't have any issues if I unlock, swipe up, let's do that here, swipe up, scroll over. It seems to still be very smooth. That indexing bug is gone, like I mentioned before. The keyboard is now showing properly, and many people say RAM management is better. However, it did reload YouTube that time around. But if we go into music, you'll see things are loading. Of course, if we go back in, I haven't opened those in a while. So many people have said it's improved. It just seems to be hit or miss. Also, you can edit screenshots now, so that's something that didn't save properly before. If maybe we saved that, save it to photos. Often when you go into photos here, and you'll see where it's cropped now, where in Beta 1 that didn't work properly. Also, CarPlay does seem to be working better, but still drops out for me sometimes. Some say it's very laggy. I showed it in a video the other day. It definitely has some lag, sometimes some ghosting of the icons. Again, it's in an early beta, and it's definitely an issue. Texting through CarPlay can often fail, for example, so there's definitely some issues there. Also, using external USB accessories are not working for some, while they work fine for others. Sometimes SSDs and microphones don't work properly, so it just depends on the device, but I'm sure this will be resolved once it's released. There's also some touch bugs. I have that once in a while, especially on CarPlay and even on the Mac as well with macOS 27 Golden Gate. And there's some odd syncing issues with iMessage and iCloud. Setup Talk to Siri seems to appear regularly. You'll see it here. Now in Beta 1, it was consistent and persistent. This time around in Beta 2, it appears once a day. So if I go in, go back, it goes away and then stays away until tomorrow. Also, Wi-Fi is still dropping off for some, just not as much as before. There's still the wallpaper bug for some. It seems okay and vibrant here. Swipe home, it sort of desaturates and then resaturates now. So some people say it's not correct, but for me it seems to be just fine. Some issues with color shifting on the home screen with folders are still an issue, and the keyboard is still disappearing for some, just not as much as Beta 1. There's still some app crashes, and in the description below I've left a link so you can check out what apps are compatible currently, as there's a great list every year that's kept on Reddit. Also, some people are having delays when you connect a charger, so if I plug in a charger, it takes maybe a second or two. Some people are seeing a much longer delay. With the iOS 26.5.2 experience, it seems to resolve quite a few issues for some people, but not everyone. Some people have said that the screen jitters have gone away. It seems pretty smooth on this device. You'll see here, this is the one I actually did the video with. And if we go to software update, you'll see it's on 26.5.2 here. And this particular version, like I mentioned, seems to be a little bit more stable that way. It fixes overheating for many also, but still some have an issue with this. And cellular and Wi-Fi dropouts were mentioned a few times, however, it's not widespread. The biggest issue seemed to be Bluetooth connectivity for some, but again, for most it seems to be stable. The wallpaper dimming bug is still definitely there, so again, if we go back in, let's get rid of what's on the screen here, swipe up, and it desaturates for some. Sometimes a reboot fixes it, but it's still an issue. With iOS 26.6 Beta 3, there's not a single person that's said anything negative about it yet. It has great battery life, it's super smooth. Again, it seems to be replacing iOS 18 as one of the best versions out there. Hopefully it stays true once it's released though. With iOS 18, of course, there's still many holdouts, some people on iOS 17 even, and iOS 18 is fine as long as it has the security updates and you enjoy it, but of course you're missing a ton of new features. Hundreds at this point, and especially even hundreds more with iOS 27. When it comes to overall heat and thermals, well, the devices do seem to heat up randomly. It's okay right now, it's a little bit warm, but let's go ahead and run benchmarks on this and 26.6 as well as 26.5.2 and see how they do. So we'll start with iOS 27 Beta 2 on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. At the hottest point, we're right around 41 degrees Celsius. It's hotter in here today. It's very hot outside, so we're around maybe 76 degrees Fahrenheit ambient temperature. Then with iOS 26.6 Beta 3, we're at, again, around 40.9 degrees or 41 degrees Celsius. And then iOS 26.5.2 on the iPhone 17 Pro is around 39 degrees Celsius, so a little bit cooler with the public release. Benchmarks completed, and you can see the results here. These are actually pretty good and about what we would get with different betas and public versions here. So we have iOS 26.5.2 on the iPhone 17 Pro, iOS 26.6 Beta 3 on the 17 Pro Max, and iOS 27 Beta 2 on the 17 Pro Max. So it just gives you a general idea, and they're well within the margin of error where they should be. As far as overall battery life, well, I'll share my battery life with you, but I wanted to show a survey that I did or a poll on X that actually shows how many people are having good battery life with the current public version. So if we take a look at that, I ran this not too long ago, but we have 890 votes, and it looks like most people are saying iOS 26.5.2 is the same, where some people are saying it's better than the previous version. Only 25% are saying that it's worse. So this is actually pretty good overall. It means that most people are not seeing any difference, even with the security updates, and some are even seeing an improvement. So hopefully that gets even better over the next few days as it completes indexing in the background. When it comes to my battery usage, I've been using iOS 27 Beta 2 full time, and if we take a look here at battery health, I'm at 100% capacity with 125 cycles. If we take a look at battery usage, yesterday I had 2 hours and 24 minutes of screen active time, 1 hour and 17 minutes of screen idle time, and I used 72% of the battery. The day before I used 74% and had similar battery life. That's just what it's like using early betas. Sometimes it improves. Like it is today, I'm only using 54%, but hopefully this improves with Beta 3 or a little bit later. That's typically what we see with early betas though. Some people find it has phenomenal battery life, but for me, it's actually been a little bit worse. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 27 Beta 2, iOS 26.6 Beta 3, or iOS 26.5.2, if you're worried about bugs and other things and Instability, I would stick with iOS 26.5.2 for now, and then wait for iOS 26.6 when it's at least at the RC. You can try out iOS 27, but if you're worried about those things, I would probably wait until at least the public beta or the public release this fall. At this point, it's decent for an early beta, but definitely has its issues. Now, as far as the overall storage, let's go ahead and take a look at that. So under General and then iPhone storage, if we scroll to the bottom, you'll see iOS is taking up more on iOS 27. This is pretty typical, where it's taking up 16.11 gigabytes compared to 14.45. Apple Intelligence, though, is using a lot more with iOS 27. So that's typical with this latest update. Of course, that could be refined over time, but you'll see system data is also a little bit more. Sometimes this goes down to 1 gigabyte. I've seen it as high as 60 gigabytes, so it just depends on what's going on in the background. But it's not really an issue, and something you don't typically need to take a look at. When it comes to the overall experience and what you had to say, let's take a look at some of your comments. Shriven said, using iOS 26.6 Beta 3 on my iPhone Air, the battery life is superb and easily gets me through the day. Performance is excellent and incredibly smooth. It finally feels like it's on par with iOS 18. Mr. Austin Felt said, I'm running iOS 27 Beta 2 on my iPhone Air and it's been great. Although it could just be the hardware limitations, but whenever I get a notification, it brings my volume all the way up, it seems. It's so unbearable. Even adjusting my ringtone all the way down, it still comes out loud. I never experienced this on my previous devices. I've already reported it in the feedback app, and hopefully Apple can fix it, because I've heard I'm not the only one. Battery life is hit or miss with my iPhone Air. Most of the time I don't even get a full day out of it. Other than that, everything is nice and smooth. Chris Palmer 4983 said, I've been using iOS 26.5.2 on my iPhone 17 Pro Max. Battery life has been great. The standby battery drain has been good as well. I easily get all-day battery life with moderate use. Overall, performance has been smooth and snappy, a few minor bugs, but not anything major. Not anything that I've been able to recreate, no app crashes noted. I would recommend for anyone with newer devices. Ali Almula V4M said, I'm on iOS 27 Beta 2 on my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and it's very well. No real issues except just some small bugs. GV Padden says, I'm using iOS 26.5.2 on my iPhone 16, and while it works great and battery is decent, I've been suffering overheating issues doing basic tasks since iOS 26. I will consider updating to iOS 27 public beta if iOS 26.6 doesn't fix the overheating issues. Cafe Commando said, iOS 27 Developer Beta 2 on iPhone 13 mini and 16 Pro. Battery life has been great and better than 26, but Beta 2 feels more sluggish sometimes when scrolling the app library page, changing wallpaper, and if I change the app icon size or color on the home page, my phone gets slow or freezes and heats up a lot. This didn't happen on 27 Developer Beta 1, and I felt like the first beta was better, but both have had great battery life. Hope they improve the performance when customizing though. MLA Syschange B2K said, iOS 26.5.2 on a base iPhone 15 here. The battery drain has improved somehow. I noticed the battery lasting longer than the previous iOS version, but certain bugs are still there. The wallpaper dimming bug and the widget respring bug, also a few stutters and certain apps taking longer to load. Jamuez says, hi Aaron, iOS 26.5.2 works great on my iPhone 17 Pro, but there's still some stuttering on the home pages from time to time. Battery is okay, lasts throughout the day with moderate usage. I guess it's still processing in the background. I'm looking forward to iOS 26.6 RC. Alex27951 said, hi, I'm on iOS 27 Beta 2 running so smoothly and fast when I use my iPhone or my iPad Pro M4 with cellular. It loads really fast, no issues at all, no overheat, but everything runs very smoothly. With iOS 26.5.2, it's still frustrating for many. iOS 26.5.2 released this week, and while it patched important security issues, it's done nothing for most with regards to bugs or battery life for some. Apple didn't say they fixed anything, and that's a bit frustrating given the amount of issues many have reported. While I do recommend the update to patch the security vulnerabilities, it doesn't seem to improve a whole lot for most people. With iOS 26.6 though, it's a 100% improvement. Based on those who are using iOS 26.6 Beta 3, there is not a single comment still with any negative things to say about iOS 26.6. While it does make me hopeful that this will be the case when it releases to the public, only time will tell. iOS 27 is next gen at this point. Now that iOS 27 betas have been out for some time, going back to iOS 26 feels old or outdated like only Apple can do. The new design is instantly grown on many with its refinements, improvements, and design updates to the point where it truly feels next-gen for many. There are still many issues that need to be worked out, but most are overwhelmingly positive and looking forward to the final public release as it's been so good for an early beta. So that's great to see. So that's everything with iOS 27 Beta 2, iOS 26.6 Beta 3, and iOS 26.5.2. This has been a great week for updates, and of course I'm looking forward to the next updates to see what they do with Beta 3 and beyond. Let me know what you're looking most forward to and how it's going for you in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.